It was a cold winter evening in New York City. The wind whipped through the streets, tugging at scarves, numbing fingers, and painting every breath with white mist. People moved quickly, heads down, rushing to escape the cold, too busy to notice anything unusual. But amid the chaos, a soft, broken voice pierced through the noise. "Please, can you be my dad until my mom comes back?" The words were small, but they hit like thunder. Ethan Carter, a sharply dressed man in a dark blue suit, stopped in his tracks. The billionaire tech mogul had just stepped out of a high-stakes board meeting, still scrolling through emails on his phone when he felt a tiny tug on his sleeve. He looked down and saw her. A little girl, no older than 6, stood trembling in the cold. Her blonde hair was tangled from the wind, her cheeks flushed pink and streaked with dried tears. Her coat looked too thin for the weather, her shoes worn out, but it was her eyes, wide, scared, and desperately hopeful. The girl sniffled and looked around, as if still expecting someone to appear. She said she'd be right back, but she never came. I waited and waited. "How long has it been?" "I don't know. A long time. My tummy hurts." The moment was surreal. Ethan, the man known for running billion-dollar deals and speaking at global tech summits, found himself face-to-face with a lost little girl asking him to be her dad. Not because she knew who he was, not because of his wealth or fame, but because he was the only one who stopped, the only one who looked human enough to care. "What's your name?" Ethan asked gently. "Lily," she whispered. "My name is Lily." "Okay, Lily. My name is Ethan. Let's go somewhere warm, all right?" She nodded. Ethan held her small, freezing hand in his gloved one and led her to a nearby coffee shop. The cashier stared for a moment, this powerful billionaire walking in with a child who clearly wasn't his, but said nothing. Ethan ordered a hot chocolate and a muffin for Lily and sat across from her as she eagerly sipped the warm drink. "Do you remember your mom's phone number?" he asked. Lily shook her head. "Do you know where you live?" She shook her head again, then hesitated. "We don't really have a home. We stay different places. Mommy said we're trying to start over." Ethan sat back, stunned. This wasn't just a child who got separated from her parent during shopping. This was something else, something deeper. He pulled out his phone and called the police, reporting that he had found a lost child. They promised to send someone right away. Meanwhile, Lily looked up at him with innocent eyes. "You're really nice. Not like the people on the street. They just walk by." He gave a soft smile. "Sometimes people are too busy to see what matters." "Are you a dad?" Ethan hesitated. "No, I've never been a dad." She tilted her head. "But you're nice like one." Ethan felt something stir in his chest, something he hadn't felt in a very long time. The officer arrived a few minutes later and began asking questions. But when Lily clung tightly to Ethan's arm and cried, refusing to go with the stranger, Ethan did something completely out of character. "I'll take responsibility for her," he said, "at least until her mother is found." The officer hesitated. "Sir, are you sure?" Ethan nodded. "Yes, I don't think she should spend the night in a shelter." And just like that, the coldest man in the tech world, a man with no family, no children, no softness, walked out of that cafe carrying a tired little girl in his arms, a child who had no idea that her simple question had just changed both of their lives forever. The ride to Ethan's home was quiet. Lily sat in the back seat of the luxury black SUV, hugging a stuffed penguin the cafe had given her. Her eyes were heavy with sleep, but she stayed awake, unsure if she could trust the comfort around her. Ethan sat silently, occasionally glancing at her through the mirror. When they arrived, the chauffeur opened the tall iron gate. The house looked more like a fortress than a home. Massive glass walls, sharp corners, expensive art. Every inch screamed money, but not a trace of love. Lily's eyes widened. "Is this a hotel?" Ethan chuckled. "No, this is where I live." "Wow, it's really big, but it's kinda lonely," she said innocently. Her words hit him harder than she could have known. Inside, his housekeeper, Maria, looked surprised when she saw Lily. "She's staying for a little while," Ethan explained. "I'll explain later." Maria gave a silent nod and guided Lily to the guest room. But Lily looked up at Ethan, not wanting to be apart. "Can you stay until I sleep?" she whispered. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. "Of course." Later that night, the guest room hadn't seen much use in years. Maria had quickly placed fresh sheets, soft lighting, and brought in a stuffed bear from her own granddaughter's old collection. Lily crawled under the covers and watched Ethan sit beside her. "You're not like what I thought rich people would be like," she murmured. Ethan smiled faintly. "What did you think we'd be like? Too busy, too mean, or fake nice," she said with sleepy honesty. "But you're real. You listen." Ethan didn't know how to respond. No one had ever called him real before. Then came the quiet, unexpected words. "Do you think, if my mom doesn't come back, I could stay with you forever?" The air froze between them. Ethan looked at her. She wasn't bargaining. She wasn't pretending. She was just asking. "I'll make sure you're safe, no matter what," he said. "Promise?" "I promise." She smiled, rolled over, and within minutes was fast asleep. Later that night, the guest room hadn't seen much use in years. Maria had quickly placed fresh sheets, soft lighting, and brought in a stuffed bear from her own granddaughter's old collection. Lily crawled under the covers and watched Ethan sit beside her. "You're not like what I thought rich people would be like," she murmured. Ethan smiled faintly. "What did you think we'd be like? Too busy, too mean, or fake nice," she said with sleepy honesty. "But you're real. You listen." Ethan didn't know how to respond. No one had ever called him real before. Then came the quiet, unexpected words. "Do you think, if my mom doesn't come back, I could stay with you forever?" The air froze between them. Ethan looked at her. She wasn't bargaining. She wasn't pretending. She was just asking. "I'll make sure you're safe, no matter what," he said. "Promise?" "I promise." She smiled, rolled over, and within minutes was fast asleep. The next morning, Ethan sat at the kitchen counter, sipping coffee and staring blankly at his untouched tablet. He had hundreds of unread emails, missed calls, meeting requests, but none of it mattered right now. He had already sent his assistant a message to clear his day. Maria joined him quietly. "She's still sleeping." Ethan nodded. "I need help. With kids. I don't know what I'm doing." Maria gave a warm smile. "The fact that you care already makes you better than most." He looked around his house, suddenly seeing it through new eyes. Cold floors, empty halls, clean surfaces, but no color, no life, no memories. That's when he made the decision. Let's make it feel like home for her, just in case she stays longer than we think. That afternoon, Ethan took Lily shopping himself. He bought her clothes, toys, books, snacks, things he never thought he'd spend time picking out. He found himself debating between two pink backpacks and actually caring about which one had unicorns and which one sparkled. Lily was glowing with happiness. "You're really good at this," she said, holding his hand. "I'm just following you," he smiled. They went to the park afterward. Lily laughed as she ran around the swings. And Ethan sat on the bench watching her, his mind far from business charts or market shares. For the first time in years, he felt something strange: peace. Back at the mansion, that evening, Lily asked to eat dinner at the big dining table, something Ethan rarely used. She told him silly stories about a dream she had, made a mess of her spaghetti, and then fell asleep on the couch, with cartoons playing. Ethan gently carried her to her room. As he tucked her in, she stirred. The next morning, Ethan stood in his office staring out the window, a cup of untouched coffee in his hand. He had barely slept, not because of stress, but because his mind was occupied with something he hadn't experienced in years: purpose. Lily was still asleep upstairs, curled up like a kitten under her soft new blankets. The house was quiet, but it didn't feel empty anymore. Ethan opened his laptop and began typing. He had already tried the police. No missing persons report, no match for Lily or her mother. But Ethan had access to resources the average person didn't. He was a billionaire. Privacy, data, security. He had teams who specialized in finding people. He called his lead investigator. "I need everything you can find on a woman named Anna. Brown hair, mid-30s, single mother, possibly home." Ethan decided to take the day off again. Something about Lily made him want to protect this delicate moment. She had brought color to his grayscale life, and he wasn't ready to let that go. They painted together in the afternoon, Lily with bold pinks and purples, Ethan with careful strokes and quiet concentration. She laughed every time he made a mistake, and he didn't mind. "Do you think my mom is looking for me?" she asked suddenly. Ethan paused. "Yes, I believe she is. What if she can't find me?" "She will," he said softly, though his heart carried doubt. 3 days later, Ethan's investigator called. "We found her." Ethan stood up. "Where?" "She was hit by a car near a small town outside the city. She's been in a coma at a local hospital for the past 3 weeks. No ID, no records, but she woke up yesterday." When asked if she had anyone to contact, she said, "Ethan Carter," and gave them your business card. Ethan's breath caught. "She remembered me?" he asked. "Yes, sir. And she wants to see her daughter." Ethan was stunned. The card he remembered now. Years ago, he had stopped at a roadside diner during a business trip. The waitress had been kind, clearly struggling and holding back tears. He'd given her a massive tip and quietly slid his card across the table. If you ever need help, he'd told her. He never expected her to call. Ethan didn't wait. He packed a bag for Lily, arranged a private car, and told her gently that they were going to see someone important. "Is it my mom?" she whispered, her voice trembling. He smiled and nodded. The ride to the hospital felt longer than it was. Lily clutched his hand the whole way. When they arrived, the nurse led them down a quiet hallway. Ethan's heart pounded as he pushed open the door. There she was, Anna, pale, thin, but awake. Her eyes filled with tears the moment she saw Lily. "Mommy," Lily cried, rushing forward. Anna pulled her into a tight embrace, sobbing. "I'm so sorry, baby. I didn't mean to leave you." Ethan stepped back, letting them have their moment. Anna looked up at him. "You came through for her," she whispered. "I hope you would. I never forgot your kindness." He nodded, unable to speak. This might be goodbye. But then Anna stepped out of the room, holding Lily's hand. "She doesn't want to lose you," Anna said gently. "Neither do I." Ethan looked down at Lily, who whispered, "Can you still be my dad, even if Mommy is back?" Tears welled in Ethan's eyes. "Yes," he said, "if you'll have me." One Friday evening, Ethan invited both of them to dinner, not at a fancy restaurant, but in his own home. Maria, his housekeeper, made spaghetti and garlic bread, Lily's favorite. The long, silent dining table that once echoed with nothing but formality was now full of laughter, clinking forks, and giggles from a child who finally felt loved. "You've changed," Maria whispered to Ethan as she cleared the plates. "I feel like I'm finally living," Ethan replied quietly. After dinner, Lily grabbed Ethan's hand and Anna's, pulling them to the couch. "Movie night," she declared. They watched an old animated film, something about a robot and a lost girl, and somewhere between the scenes, Ethan felt Lily curl up next to him and whisper, "This is what it feels like to have a dad, right?" His heart tightened. He didn't answer with words. He simply placed his arm around her and held her close. Later that night, after Lily had gone to bed, Ethan and Anna sat on the balcony under the stars. "I know I should find a job, get back on my feet," Anna said. "But I don't want Lily to feel like I'm pulling her out of the first real home she's ever known." Ethan hesitated. "Then don't." She looked at him. "What do you mean?" "I want you both to stay," he said. "Not out of guilt, not out of obligation, but because we're better together." Anna's eyes filled with tears. "You know," she said with a soft smile. "When I first met you at that diner, I thought you were just another rich guy, trying to feel better about himself with a big tip. I had no idea that one kind act would change everything." Ethan chuckled. "Neither did I." A week had passed since the reunion at the hospital, but for Ethan, it felt like his entire life had changed overnight. Lily was home again, but this time, so was Anna. Ethan had arranged for Anna's hospital care, therapy, a private apartment, just a floor below his in his luxury building. He offered to help her find work, support her education, anything she needed. But she didn't want charity. "I don't want a billionaire to save me," Anna said one afternoon, standing by his office window. "I just want my daughter to feel safe, and maybe for the first time in years, she finally does." Ethan respected her strength. She wasn't here for his money. She was here for Lily, just like him. Later that night, after Lily had gone to bed, Ethan and Anna sat on the balcony under the stars. "I know I should find a job, get back on my feet," Anna said, "but I don't want Lily to feel like I'm pulling her out of the first real home she's ever known." Ethan hesitated. "Then don't." She looked at him. "What do you mean?" "I want you both to stay," he said. "Not out of guilt, not out of obligation, but because we're better together." Anna's eyes filled with tears. "You know," she said with a soft smile, "when I first met you at that diner, I thought you were just another rich guy trying to feel better about himself with a big tip. I had no idea that one kind act would change everything." Ethan chuckled. "Neither did I." The days turned into weeks. Lily now went to a nearby school, and every morning she hugged Ethan before she left. "You better be here when I get back," she'd say. And he always was. Ethan had rearranged his entire work schedule. Meetings now happened from home. His board questioned him. Investors were confused. But Ethan didn't care. For the first time, he wasn't building apps or chasing profit. He was building something that actually mattered. A family. Wait, a father by choice. One rainy Sunday morning, Lily came into Ethan's room wearing pajamas. It was a picture of her, Ethan, and Anna, all standing under a rainbow. "I made this at school," she said proudly. Ethan smiled. "It's beautiful." She sat beside him, swinging her legs. "Do you think we could make it official?" "What do you mean?" "Can you adopt me?" she asked softly. The words hit him like lightning. Tears welled in his eyes as he pulled her into his arms. "If that's what you want, then yes, with all my heart." And just like that, the man who once thought he had everything finally realized what he'd been missing. A family who chose him, just as much as he chose them. If you like this story of class, power, and silent victory, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to know. Sometimes, walking away is the strongest move you can make.